Hi there, Prairie here. I wanted to bring you along today because I want to do a little bit of an experiment with growing medium. And this is growing medium for starting your seeds. There's a lot of talk about what the best thing is to use. And I've never really got too caught up in it myself. I usually just use a regular potting soil that doesn't have added fertilizer. Or I use peat moss, just plain peat moss. Sometimes I'll mix a bit of perlite into it to just aid with some drainage in that. And I just go through, and I take out the large chunks or, anything that I think is just too coarse for seedlings. And I've had good luck with that, and I've always been really happy with that. But I thought there's so much discussion on it that maybe it's worth, just experimenting a little bit. So I have this flat for germinating seedlings in it. It has, I believe, 20 rows in it, and it's meant to just start your seedlings really close together, and then you can pop them out and put them into pots as they get to like their first leaf stage or after germination, whenever you feel that they need to be moved out of this space. But I thought it would be a good opportunity to try several different mediums with just some fast-growing seeds. These aren't seeds that I'm looking to actually grow up and plant out in my garden, but it's just some cheap, fast-growing seeds that I picked up. It's actually, I have some radishes that I just picked up at the Dollar Tree, and then I have a few marigold seeds that I've just had kicking around here for a while. So I thought I'd just put a little bit of each in each row. So I'm going to try several different mediums. And we'll just see which one winds up being the best for me. I'm going to set it in this wicking tray so they're all getting equal watering. I'll spritz them in first to moisten the top of the soil, but then I'll just water from the bottom, and I'll probably put a humidity dome on it. And then they should theoretically all be treated exactly the same that way, other than what the medium is that they're growing in. I thought it was worth a try. So let me show you the mediums that I'm going to be working with. The first thing that I have is just this cocoa fiber. This is just a compressed little, I was going to say bale, but it's not really. It's just a cube or just a chunk of compressed cocoa fiber. And so what you need to do is reconstitute this with some hot water. So I'll have to do that before I can use it, but this way they ship like this, and it's supposed to be one of the more eco-friendly options because it's cocoa fiber, it's easily renewable, it's using what's basically trash from harvesting the coconuts and turning into a usable product. A lot of people use this instead of peat. I have a couple of problems with it. I'm not a huge fan of it. I have actually tried to use it before, and I feel like it's a very... I don't care for the texture. I don't like the fiberousness of it. I don't know if I just haven't bought a good product before. No, I haven't tried this one before. But I've just never felt like it retains moisture and just has that same feel and loftiness that I like. And maybe it's just a matter of getting used to it. Another problem that I have with it is there's no coconut trees anywhere near where I live. So anything that's harvested and shipped to me is coming from a very far away. There's a lot of transportation, fuel, and costs and things that are affecting the environment that way that are used for these. It sounds like not all operations are managed in a people-friendly manner. And sometimes I've heard that people get cocoa coir and it's full of salt because it's rinsed. The product has to be rinsed when they're getting it ready for packaging, and it's rinsed in the ocean, and then it has salt water in it. So you aren't guaranteed, I guess. I guess once you find a good company, then you know that they're safe, but you never really know for sure. So I'm not totally sold on this as my alternative for peat moss, but it is one, and in some countries and places it might be a better option for you, especially if you live in a more humid environment. If you live close to where it's manufactured, things like that, it might be a better alternative for you. Here I live in Canada. Yeah, peat isn't super easily renewable, but it is renewable. It does have its drawbacks when you use it. It does, when it's harvested, release some carbon, and it destroys areas where people traditionally harvest medicinal and food plants, and it definitely has its drawbacks too, but it's done in a little bit more managed and sustainable way than it is in other parts of the world. So I think peat moss still does have its feasibility here in Canada. So let's look at, I have here, this is just a regular potting mix. Now I have it moved into another bucket because this is out of a huge bag. I'll show you a shot of the bag. And it's just kind of one of the cheapest soils that you can purchase. And this one is just a regular potting mix. It's not made to use for seedlings or anything. And it just has a little bit of, it's just basically peat moss, and I think it has some vermiculite and perlite mixed into it, but just a regular potting soil with no fertilizer. So hopefully you can see that there. So still pretty fine. It's a pretty nice mix. I did find I had some fungus gnats in it, so I don't normally sterilize my mix, but I did microwave this for a few minutes just to try and kill off the gnat issue that seemed to be occurring in this bag of mix that I had. So that's one of my other options. Then I have this, which is just pure peat moss from Miracle-Gro, but it does have a little bit of nutrients in it, and it has a moisture control product, I believe, in it as well. So it's supposed to have some plant food, just a lower amount, but it's sort of, it does have some feed in it, which I don't think is ideal. Seedlings don't need that. They have everything they need built right into them for that initial, you know, little bit. So, but this is just peat moss with, you know, a little bit of food. I thought it said it had a moisture control. It might just be, let's see if it says. No, it looks like it's just peat moss with the nutrients added. So they're just saying moisture control because peat moss is supposed to be good at holding moisture, I'm gonna guess, is why they're selling it in that way. So the Miracle-Gro peat moss with nutrients. And then I got, I picked up the Jiffy, this is called Young Plant Mix. So it's made for growing, usually like you would put your seedlings into this and pot it on. So this does, I believe, have a little bit of the perlite in it, and then peat moss. And let's see, it says it contains 60 to 70% sphagnum peat moss, then perlite, coir pith, which would be some cocoa coir, worm castings, volcanic clay, and a lime for a pH adjuster. Peat moss can be a little bit acidic, so some companies will add some lime just to counteract that a little bit, to bring your pH more to the neutral range. So that's the other one we're going to try. And then I have vermiculite. Now there's two different kinds of vermiculite that you can get, and I have both of them here. So one, there might be more than two, but this is the two that I find easily. One is very, very fine, and this is what I like to sprinkle on top of my seedlings. And then the other one is just a little bit coarser. They look a different color just because the fine one seems to have some moisture in the bag. So this one just is a little bit more coarse. So this is the one I'm going to use because I think it's not a lot coarser. This is a medium. You can actually get a much more coarse one than this, but this is a good texture. I think this is the right texture that we would want for putting seedlings in. So that's what we'll be using for that. And then I was looking for play sand, and I couldn't find play sand anywhere or washed sand. So I have just picked up, this is craft sand from the Dollar Tree. I don't know how well this will work. People swear by using sand. You'll often find it in seedling mixes. But it's, the this is what I could come by. In a country where everything gets cold, all you find is snow shovels and ice melt these days, it seems. So I picked this up and we'll try it and just see where it goes. So the first thing I need to do is get the peat moss, the cocoa coir reconstituted. So we'll do that, we'll set it to the sides because it's going to need to soak for a while. And then we'll get our seed tray filled and get our seeds in. Okay, so while we're waiting for the cocoa coir to expand and rehydrate, I just made little labels for each of these so I know which is which, because some of these products are going to look pretty much the same, I think, once they get in here. So I just have the pots and plants. I think it is just the regular potting soil that I had purchased last fall for my seed starting. So I just have that here, and then the next one is the cocoa coir. And then I believe it's Miracle Grow, yeah, and then sand, and then the Jiffy mix, and then the vermiculite. And I've put them down kind of the center of the tray because I find sometimes with these trays, if you're using bottom watering, sometimes the outer edges aren't getting the same amount of water as the interior, especially if you're starting at one end and going down. This part will be heavier and that part kind of lifts out or something. So I just thought going in the center makes it as even as I can possibly do for that. So now I need to just try and fill in these little channels with just one type of each of mix. So I'm gonna do my best to get that done, and we'll see how that goes. This might be the most difficult part of this whole thing. So here, this is the kind of thing, you know, I say when I have potting soil that I'm just grabbing. Sometimes there's a kind of a chunk, and this one I could just break up so I can just put it back in. Sometimes there'll be a stick or a stone or whatever in these. So you just either pull it to the side. Lots of times I'll just throw those into my compost and just move on. If you're getting a lot, then I wouldn't buy that particular brand again, but it happens. So I'm just gonna gently, see, here's a little stick now. For regular planting, not a big deal. For seedlings, I don't want that in there. I'm just kind of tapping it down a little bit so that there's no air pockets in here. So that's important when you're growing your seedlings. You want air and water to move through the soil. You want it, you know, lofty but not big air pockets, because then the roots will hit those air pockets and they won't develop properly. For a seedling especially, that's important. Here's another bit of a chunk of, I'm not even sure what this is, pretty hard. So just get that out of the way. Not too many like really big chunks though. Like these are pretty insignificant for what you can find in some mixes. A little bit more. So there, we'll leave it like that so we can get our seeds in and cover them the way we need to. So let's move that to the side. And I'll just go through and continue filling this with the appropriate medium for each of these channels here. That's out of the Miracle Grow bucket. That to me isn't acceptable in any circumstance you would be using this medium for. That's ridiculous. I'm gonna actually spray the Miracle Grow. It's quite dry, so I'm gonna get it sprayed down to get it rehydrated here. Because it's peat based, and peat moss can be hydrophobic, so you wanna make sure that it's absorb the moisture well. So again, I want to make sure that the Jiffy medium is quite moistened down as well, because it's also peat based. And then I want to make sure the vermiculite sand, everything has moisture in it to start with, so that the seeds all have the moisture they need. Okay, so obviously this isn't perfectly scientific, and you know there's a little bit of spillover between the rows, but I think for the purposes here this will work. So I'm just going to grab my seeds and we'll just do some planting and find out how this works out. So I don't have a ton of these marigold seeds, and they are a few years old, but I haven't had trouble with them with germination so far over the years. I think marigold seeds last pretty well. They're very well stored in this little foil pack, and every medium is getting these same seeds of the same age, so I think that's okay. And I think I'll go and I'll just poke about 5 down in each medium. That one doesn't want to, so we won't use it. And then we'll be able to count. That's why I picked these seeds, because I think these two varieties, germinate fairly quickly, and they're easy to handle, so I can kind of know what the germination rate was in each of these containers, you know, and how the plants grew. Now this isn't how you would normally use these seed flats to do perfect spacing of seeds like this. But I thought it made it easy to do kind of a side-by-side comparison, and I don't need the flat right now for anything else. So I just thought it would work well for this. So you can see that this was the Jiffy mix here, and it has some perlite in it. I think you can see the white perlite. Actually, some's fallen over into the sand. But that's perlite, those white specks in there, and that's just used to kind of help with drainage. So I'm just going to keep going through and putting these seeds, 5 of these seeds in each of these mediums here. I'm actually pretty happy with each of these growing mediums. Like I said, when I've tried to use coco coir in the past, I've actually wound up just putting it out as a mulch because it's been so thick and chunky that I didn't think it was worth trying to grow plants in. And often when you buy these growing mixes, you'll find lots more, you'll find some stones or twigs and things, because none of these are actually technically a seed starting mix. I didn't actually see a seed starting mix in the stores. I've shopped at about three or four different stores, and other than the little Jiffy pots, which I just despise that netting on them when I find it in my yard, so I don't like to use them, I didn't find a seed starting specific mix. So I don't want to save those because my hand was wet, so they're wet. But there's 5 marigolds in each of these. Oh, what I was saying is the only one is the Miracle Grow I found this giant stick in, and the rest didn't have big chunks in them, so that was a pleasant surprise. Okay, and then the radishes. I grabbed 2 packs of these because they're from the Dollar Tree, so I'm not sure how many seeds are in here. But radishes grow really quick. Like in a month you can have a mature radish. So I thought these were a really good one for trying, because you should see pretty quickly. So I'm going to try and put like 10 in each. Oh, there's something for the Dollar Tree. There is still probably at least 30 seeds left in there. So I don't think this package is any smaller than anything I get anywhere else. And I think I paid 35 cents or something for this package of radish seeds. So that's pretty good, just on a side note there. So I'm just gonna go and cover these over. What does it say for the radishes? A 1/4 inch. And the marigolds will be fine with that as well. So I just need to make sure I put the right mix on each of these, which is why I labeled them. And we'll be good to go. So let's start over here with the vermiculite. So basically I just need to top these trays up. And they should be good. Okay, so I have these all topped up. So normally when I plant my seedlings, I would put just a very fine layer of the fine vermiculite on top of my potting mix. But I'm not gonna do that today because I want to see how each of these mediums performs on its own. The vermiculite is just there to try and help to maintain moisture. It kind of slows down the evaporation because vermiculite holds on to moisture a little bit. And it also can help to decrease the occurrence of fungus growing on top, which can help control fungus gnats as well. So that's why you would use that, but I'm not going to for this case. So from here on in, they're all going to be watered the same and handled the same light, everything. Obviously, they're in the same tray, and hopefully they'll come up and we can have some good results with this. So let me know in the comments down below which ones you think, which one of these mediums is going to perform the best here. Do you have one that you use all the time and you think is the best thing? What do you think about using this decorative sand? I really wish I could have found some proper washed like playground sand. I still, once it comes out in the stores, I'm gonna throw some in here and do an experiment with that, but that could be months from now, I don't know. So I'll do my best to try and find that. But I'm just gonna water these in from over top right now, just to make sure that the growing medium has good moisture on top and is making good contact with the seeds in all of these. And then I'm just gonna put a humidity dome over top. I don't have one right here, but I'll pop one on top. And for now, I'm just gonna leave them sitting here on my table behind me because they don't actually need light to germinate. They're covered up. And I'll bring you back when I see some action here, and we'll see where this takes us. So like I said, put it in the comments what you think, how this is gonna turn out. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.